and feeling very supportive of one another. We're going to be working with physical safety measures, and we're going to be working with personal empathy as we look at the next steps of getting the work done to open Massachusetts economy. Okay. So you heard from all the pundits that we're all in this together. And indeed we are, business owners and customers and employees and independent contractors and vendors. Everyone's going to have to be pulling a little bit extra to make this all work. We need business owners in our communities who can fulfill the requirements to open safely and still have the stamina to be good business owners, good merchants, good community members. Your customers want you to succeed. They do not want you to compromise the best of what they came to love about your business because you are dealing with COVID. It's going to be sort of a magic act for you to pull through this and be superhuman, but you cannot hide behind the work required by COVID. You really have to shine right through it and still be a very good merchant, just making sure that everybody feels confident and safe at the same time. Your customers are going to be coming at this from all kinds of places. Some of them have been ready for Massachusetts to open and to get right back with you in business for weeks. Some of them are not really sure they're ready yet. Some of them might test the waters and say, I feel great about it, I'm going to stick with it. Some might test the waters and say, I feel like I'm still kind of nervous, and other people are a little too casual. So there's going to be a lot of variables in this area. And this really isn't the time to judge where someone else is. You have to be open. You deserve respect for where you are and the work you've done. Your customers also deserve respect for what they are feeling. And above all, the virus deserves respect. We have to all be very careful doing what we want, what we know we have to do to be safe. So as you encourage customers back into your business, you should be transparent, discussing the ways they can engage with your business. If you have to have appointments, that's the way it is. You're going to have to be a little bit rigorous about these kinds of things, and people are going to have to learn to cooperate in new ways. They had to learn to accommodate 2 months at home, figuring out new things, so they're prepared to learn. But I think you are going to have some variables working with customers as they learn to play by your new rules, and you're going to have to hold tight to those new rules. And you might have to make some accommodations of your own for seniors and other people that might be immunocompromised. So there's going to be a lot of learning as we go into this, but we are going to go into it together. So the state has a great website that has all the information on what you absolutely have to do. The mass.gov/reopening or / reopening has the industry protocols that are general for everyone, as well as industry protocols that are specific for each industry category that is opening up. They are promising to have information ahead of time, like a week or more in advance. But if you go there and follow what's going on for your industry, you should be able to get a lot of information. There's checklists, there's control plans that you need to fill out, and there are all kinds of other sort of ideas. There's a portal for supplies. If you need certain kinds of PPE, certain kinds of sanitizing product, you can go there. You also should check with your local municipality if they have any other rules. And everybody's a little worried about whether or not you're going to be having people oversee everything. And the boards of health for your local municipality and the state are going to be keeping an eye on things, but they can't be everywhere. You know who's going to really be keeping an eye on things is your staff and your customers. If they feel like you are doing what you're supposed to do, they will encourage that and they will support that. If they don't feel safe, they will tell you by just not coming anymore. So, everyone's in this together. No one's going to be, trying to be punitive about it, but I think we can work on it together and let everybody know. So on the next one, we have, the next slide is complementing your core services as needed. There certainly are rules to follow, and there certainly is training and communication that you're going to need to do, but please resist the temptation to reinvent your whole business. There's been a lot of change, and we're going to have to accommodate things. but your customers want to come back to the same business they loved. And it will be overwhelming to try and reinvent your business at this time. So choose carefully. Invest in the things you need to invest in for the long term, and spend carefully right now as each phase goes through. You don't need to do a 180 to accommodate COVID as your business reopens. Customers are going to really be happy with things that they notice are unchanged, as long as they feel safe with what you've taken care of sort of behind the scenes. Okay? And if you have been in touch with your customers over the past couple of months, that's been a good thing. During this pause, hopefully you've been able to share with them how you're doing, check in with them as to how they're doing. Hopefully you've been in touch for good things, using your social media and using your website. If anyone didn't have a website before now, it certainly would be time to put one up. It's not difficult. So getting back in touch with them all is really important now, so they know you're opening. How about using your cell phone to post a video tour of your pandemic-proofed space? Just take your cell phone, do a little walk around, and show them that you might have an acrylic panel up, or that you have 6 feet of space between customer service areas, that you have hand sanitizer right when they walk in. You know, all of the things that we know you've already thought about and taken care of. Now's the time to let everybody know about the details of that. And as a business person, I've always suggested that everybody keep a database of customers. That's always good for communicating with them by email, when you have specials. But if you did not have a database before, now it is a critical component of business. Not only for appointments, which is most of the ways things are opening, but also for reaching out as things evolve, and possibly, very, very possibly, for contact tracing. Should someone come into your business that might have, that it finds out that they're COVID positive, someone will be in touch with you to find out who else was in that place during that time. So keeping track of everybody, the staff hours, the customer appointments, and the UPS guy when he comes in and out. Make sure that you've got all of that tracked and ready to share if needed. Okay? So in terms of communicating, everybody wants to know the details. It's okay to over-communicate. Let everybody know if you're going to have to sit in your car and wait for an appointment, how you're going to be entering the business, how you're going to be interacting with staff, the whole, every detail. The state's done a lot of work to get things ready, but they don't know every detail of how you can operate in your space. So you need to communicate that with everyone. And after you do all this work, for goodness sakes, put out open signs, put your phone number on your door so that if people are not allowed an open door policy to just come in and out, they can at least call you and find out more that they need to know. Put out balloons, do whatever it takes to let everybody know that you are ready for business. Okay. There are specific things that you'll be needing to do in terms of training your staff. The proper use of PPE, get everybody on board so that everybody's on the same page. You don't have time to be watching your staff. They need to be well-trained and managing on their own, doing things the way you all agreed they should be done. And there will be what-ifs that come up. What if a staff person can't come in for a particular reason? How are you going to reach that person's customers or that person's appointments for the day? Customers have to understand that their rules of engagement are serious. You need to be confident in those rules. If you've made appointments for people and someone shows up a half an hour late, that's a what if. What if somebody comes in late? How are we going to deal with it? You can't have more than a certain number of people in your space, so you're going to have to be serious about saying, we'll make you a new appointment. What if someone is not comfortable wearing a mask? Do you have a plan B? Is there a special place that they can be taken care of? And I don't mean not comfortable in that they don't want to wear a mask, but they have some health problem that keeps them from doing it. So, you know, get your rules right and stick with them, get everybody onboarded with them, and then, you know, hang tight with them. Keep smiling through all of that. And when I say keep smiling, this is something that you can do with your staff that might lighten things up a little bit. Practice smiling with your eyes. This is not going to be easy for everybody. You know, it's going to be hard to make all of these changes and still feel natural while you're trying to be serious and get everybody on board. but don't give in to the temptation to go backwards. Keep your mask on, smile through your eyes, and manage your business, manage your time management. Figure out how much business you can manage to be open with when being open safely. You might have to extend days and hours of operation. You might have to, minimize staff interaction or staff attendance. There are all kinds of things. It's going to be a new rhythm for your business. So give yourself some time to feel good about that and lighten things up a little bit by smiling with your eyes. So while we think these ideas are good practices for now, we know that things are going to be evolving as everybody gets back to work. We've never done this before. Well, maybe in 1918, they tried some things, but those lessons are long since evolved with technology and so forth. So we will come up with best practices together over time. Write down what works best for you and talk to others. Share it with people that you meet on this call today. Share it with your vendors and your colleagues. We know it was pretty simple to close down, but opening up is pretty tough. So let's figure out what worked and let's learn from that. Just like the hospitals had to learn to be better prepared, we all have to learn to be better prepared. We certainly hope we don't have to get up to a phase and then back down a phase. We want to keep things going. We want to have this go in a straight line forward, even if it's 3 or 4 weeks at a time before we can move on. But we need to learn from every single step that we take, and whatever happens, we want to be better prepared. And as you get going, hopefully, as the rules become, integrated with your new rhythm of business, hopefully you'll have some time to add some of your own creativity. You want your brand to be strong. You want people to remember that you made an extra effort to engage your customers in your own special way. So think about ways that you can do that. You need to keep your messaging important, but not, sort of heavy. You want to keep things lighthearted and use your brand identity as much as you can, so that people realize that you're doing this, to make them feel good and feel better, not to just and accommodate everybody's safety, but not to just be sort of deadly serious through it all. Okay? And I wish I could tell you that this is one and done. I wish I could tell you that things are going to be fixed and all better, but you can also take comfort in the fact that you have gone through a pretty big storm and you weathered it well. If things get tough again, you can adjust your sails and keep going. I have confidence in all of the 750 small business owners that I've worked with over the years. I don't know what happened to my sailboat in this picture, but in any event, it was a beautiful sailboat that was dealing great against a tough wind. But in any event, I have confidence that you can do it. And now I'm going to turn this over to Frankie Dakota from the Entrepreneurship Center to talk about some more of the rules and regs that you all have to deal with. We'll talk later with questions. Thank you.
And sorry, Chris, I don't know what happened either when I made it a PDF. I just noticed that myself, so I apologize.
No problem. On to Frankie.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation, and thank you all. I know you're super busy. I feel like I'm doing 3 webinars a day, and so I appreciate that you took the time out to join us. All of us are here really because we're trying to help provide as much information, although we're certainly not experts in your business. So please take that with a grain of understanding that you're going to have your own personal challenges, but we do want to help you prepare to reopen and recover, specifically if you're a restaurant or retail. So I'm just going to walk you through somewhat of a checklist that I think might help, and I have additional information on each of these things and templates and other areas that I can continue to offer support. Yeah, you can move forward. That's fine. Thank you. So if you're a small business, this might provide some guidance. If you're a small business support program, perhaps this helps you give you some guidance on how you can support your community of small business owners. And if you're looking to continue collaborating with support and want to connect with me after this, I would love to share my documents with you and templates and maybe help build a plan to make sure everyone has a clear pipeline to reopening safely and recovering their business. So this, obviously, this uncertainty is a real challenge, but I also believe that it's a great time for innovation, and I've seen lots of small business owners innovating even at this point. So I used to be a small business owner, and now I'm supporting them, and I know that it's really scary, and also we're showing our signs of resilience, a special breed of people. So that's amazing. And if you're one of those special breed online right now, thank you for your hard work. So this for me is running across the page here, just the 8 steps that I think are going to be really important when planning to reopen. And I just want to emphasize that that can start now. It doesn't matter what the state is saying regarding your actual opening your doors. Preparing to reopen should be, or preparing to expand or go back to your previous state of operation. Those things should be part of your working operating plan now, and preparing for those things. So compliance obviously is going to be number 1, but then understanding your metrics and what numbers you're measuring up against are going to matter. Reviewing your menu and inventory and purchasing plan, your restaurant staff management, marketing reopening, which Daniel will talk about later, your staff training, your dining experience, and then your overall owner wellness and your staff wellness are all different buckets of areas that I want to just really quickly talk about. So we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Oh, sorry. See, I didn't need these extra slides, but there we go. Compliance. There we go. So obviously, Chris mentioned that you're going to have local, state, and federal guidelines that you need to comply with. So make sure that you are understanding what those are, and you can go to the next slide. And there's a lot of details about where to find this information, and it's all over the web, but just make sure you're looking at the most current guidelines. And so I think I have a slide here. If not, I can actually share with you the websites that have the most current guidelines, because obviously this has been updating for quite a long time. But just, I don't want to talk too much about this because Chris talked about it, but just make sure that you are following all the guidelines for your industry. We know that. So we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so here are some of the places you can get support. Chamber of Business coaches, like Danielle is going to talk here. She's working really hard to make sure she has all the information. If you haven't connected with your health or economic development departments in your community, be sure to do so, because for several reasons. They're setting guidelines now, and they're looking for input. And so your input would be helpful for them as they go forward to make plans. Your economic development departments are trying to find ways to support your business and the business community. And so that the more that they hear from you, the more likely it is they're going to be able to create programming that is effective to help you and your business recover and reopen and recover. And then obviously license commissions, they have a lot of power if you're a restaurant in particular, but it seems like with retail as well, of getting your business outside. I know Nashoba just announced that they're going to be, or I think they started closing down their streets today. So, or mostly closing down the streets so their restaurants can get outside and their retail can get outside. So connect with your local business, advocate for your business, advocate for your fellow business owners if you can, and then also know there's a lot of other resources to get your business up and running again. Thank you. Next slide. Dropping my pen. Oh, skip that. Wait, I don't want to run out of time. All right, so metrics. Go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so you want to make sure that you know how your business can operate financially with with your reopening, and that's really, in my mind, starts with understanding what your sales volume was and what your expenses were before you opened. So perhaps pulling your February or whatever date that you ended up seeing a massive decline or closure of your business, and using that information to determine what your break-even point will be based on COVID, and then calculating new overhead, so you can decide at what level you can open with, at what level you can bring your staff in, so that you're making really well-informed financial decisions about your business. And then I would suggest that if for everybody, you should update your projected cash flows or your profit and loss statements to reflect those numbers. So you're not just shooting from the hip trying to scramble to get your business open, but you're, you know, again, you're running a business, so you always should be looking at this from the lens of how do I make this business operate profitably? And even that, you know, that might be a difficult thing to assume that you can make a profit, but you at least want to be breaking even as you reopen. So this is the time you could be evaluating all of your pre-COVID cash flows and then trying to make your best guess determination on what the state has said you can do now, and make sure that you're able to operate within a reasonable break-even point or margin, so that you're not inadvertently hurting your cash position by opening without the ability to continue to pay your bills and your staff. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and then once you know that you're in compliance to the best of your ability based on the information that you have now, and you've taken some time to look at your numbers to understand what your cash position will be going forward, even in the phased in reopenings, it's I highly recommended that you evaluate your menu, inventory, and purchasing options right now. So if you're a restaurant, this is a great time, and I know it's very difficult to look at your, and there's some things here on the slide steps, but I know it's very difficult to serve the same level of quality of food in an outside or off-premises dining environment than in your restaurant. So it may be a good time to take stock of your menu, perhaps make some adjusted menu decisions. And so we're in Lowell, I'm in Lowell where I operate. So we always, you know, we think of it as our Folk Fest menu, like the pared down menu that you can serve quickly and affordably without the significant access to the kitchen or your space that you would normally have. If you're retail, you may be in a position where your inventory is actually out of date at this point because you may have missed an entire season of sales. So figuring out the best approach, you know, maybe the best approach right now is to just put that stuff on a massive discount to get people spending. Maybe it's to try and rush in new inventory. So you just need to do an assessment of that, I would say, so that you can make sure that the stuff you're selling actually is the same thing that people who are out buying want to buy from you. Yeah, so I think, and then of course, making sure that you have all of your PPP. Now I do know that there's a woman who is local to the Merrimack Valley. She's going to be she sells all the PPP products, including some approved organic natural products. And she is launching a green or an e-training to help business community try and understand how to best implement that. And I will make those details available if I have it to anyone who's interested. But I know that more and more there's, you know, so she's an innovative business owner trying to find ways to grow her business too. So if you can find ways to support your local business community while building the reopening plan and sustainability plan for your business, that I think is going to really make a huge impact on raising all of the boats, since we have the boats image here, rising all the boats in the community. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so if you're pretty comfortable with your compliance and you know that you financially can reopen your business and you understand how to make that work and you understand what your product and service offering is going to look like, then communicating with your staff, managing your staff plan is going to be really important. Next slide, please. So, you know, one of the challenges that we hear a lot is that staff are making more money on unemployment than they are by coming back to your business. And so it's going to be important that you communicate that you plan to reopen and that you seek their input, because it's, I would like to think, having had lots of staff, that they're more likely to come back and work and maybe give up a higher wage if they feel like their investment and their input in your business really matters. I saw when this thing first started, I saw a nice survey that went out to restaurant employees about not just their availability to continue work, but their comfort level working in this environment. And so they just did a nice little survey internally, Google form, I think. And so that might be a good way if you have lots of staff to allow them to anonymously or anonymously let you know their comfort level, because some people will just still be afraid to come back to work, which is obviously their right to feel that way. So, but you also want to make sure you have a plan in case they choose not to come back to work. I know that a lot of small business owners are concerned about the option they have, which is to file a claim with unemployment saying someone did not come back to work, which of course jeopardizes their unemployment. So you want to make a plan that works based on the values of your business and how you have already committed to treating your staff, but obviously you still need to get people in your door. So there's additional things on this list. I just don't want to go through all of it, but making sure that you're prepared and your staff are prepared to come back to work are going to be really helpful. You may be adjusting schedules. You may be having people come in early to clean your restaurant or clean your staff. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen with your staff in order for this to work effectively for you. I like to think of them as partners, your customer partners, your staff partners, your vendor partners. So if you can think about them as your partners, bring them in, let them engage with you. I'm hoping there's a longer term success with that relationship with staff. All right, next slide. Okay, so then what a lot of people don't think about, but you also are going to have some compliance issues with HR, especially if you've laid off your staff or and you're bringing them back in. So one of the things that you may need to do is may need to reissue I-9s if your I-9s are not reflective of the new W-4s, if they're not reflective of the new W-4 that just came out in 2020. And depending on when they were laid off or let go, you may have to reissue I-9s to verify employment. And so you just want to make sure that you're in compliance with all of the HR requirements, as well as some of those may have changed. And then I didn't really think about this, but if you're a restaurant retail and you're allowing for staff breaks, which of course you probably would, that also needs to comply with the 6-foot social space requirements. And so there may be even more details that we haven't thought about that we're going to have to think about and make create solutions for before we open. I think the more we can plan before we open, the fewer challenges we're going to have. And I am hearing and seeing online that people are kind of anxiously waiting to report when they're seeing people and restaurants and businesses out of compliance. So taking a deep, thorough dive into your planning is going to be really important. And again, if you are a business owner on this call, there are lots of organizations that are just, this is what we do all day to try and help you. And Chris does that too with her businesses, to try and help you think these through and help you create a plan. So definitely reach out to anyone. Danielle's on the phone all day with her chamber members. So be sure to engage your community. All right, next one. So marketing, I'm just going to say, of course, this is really important to do that. And Danielle's going to have her whole presentation on marketing. But just a couple things to think about. Obviously, you're going to announce your reopening. And Chris, you mentioned website or Facebook. Make sure that that is all up to date. And then one of the things that I think we forget to do is we forget the advocacy piece of our marketing plan or sales funnel plan. And that is make sure you're asking your consumers and your friends and family to promote and share the business, your new business strategy, your new business hours. And we'll let Danielle talk about the rest of this one. All right, so the next step is staff training. So obviously over communication is perfectly acceptable in this environment. You can go to the next slide, thank you. So there's so many pieces of staff training, and having your training manual updated is going to be really important. And here's a great start of a checklist. And I have some templates if that's something that's helpful. But just keep in mind that the better trained your staff are on these new rules and regulations and how to comply, one, it's going to the customer experiences when staff are uncertain of what they're supposed to be doing. And so taking some time, I know that when you're a new business or new restaurant retail, restaurants more in this case, I think, you might actually have a soft opening and do a week's worth of training before you do that. I wouldn't say that's as necessary, but I wouldn't want a restaurant or a retailer to skip over dedicating some time to make sure that the entire team is on the same page, so that when the customer comes back and already has a little trepidation or anxiety, that they are put at ease, because there seems to be a very clear kind of understanding among the staff of how they're going to operate in this new environment, and everybody is doing this consistently. So staff training is going to be very important. And then also keeping in mind that the customer may not be complying. So it's going to be really important to train all of the staff on how to communicate the values of the business when handling the guests. And I think of that as handing them gracious management, but it really has to be reflective of how your business practice. Okay, next one. Oh, so I read the title wrong. Sorry about that. So then the dining and shopping experience obviously is, think of that, like I said, selling gracefully, but there are things that you're going to do that are going to be part of compliance and training. But they're also, I think it's really important, and Chris mentioned it, is they want to come back to the same business they left. But I also think that they want the environment to still be beautiful. And I think it's important that we still put a lot of value on creating an environment, and try to make, this is just, I guess, my view, but try to make some of that safety stuff disappear a little bit, so they can really enjoy the experience. Because, you know, food and shopping is great, but for a lot of people, it's about the experience. So I would say if you're doing signage, use what is required, but if you're creating your own signage for anything, or you're adding displays, make sure that everything reflects your brand, internally and externally whenever possible. Next slide, thank you. It's a lot of talking. Okay, and then this to me is the most important, and it's not necessarily something we're talking a lot about, but both the owners, the staff, and the guests need to feel good about moving forward in order for this to work, I think. And the business community is stressed out. I know that consumers are stressed out and staff are stressed out. And I do think it's really important, when we go back to building our reopening plans, that we commit to taking care of ourselves. The business owner, you know, they set the tone and the foundation of that business. And I don't know about you, but if I walk into a business and the owner is stressed, I feel it, I know it. And it often makes me, I'll come back, but it often makes me really, really consider if that's the best use of my money, to spend it in a place where I don't feel great. So make sure you commit to taking care of yourself, commit to taking care of your staff as well, because when you bring them on, obviously you're responsible for them, but you're also responsible for their sick time. And when you have great wellness, you have great immunities, and you're much more able to withstand stress as well as illness. And also, it's important to create a culture of gratitude in this time period, I think, too, because we're going to be really pushing on the consumer to come back and shop local. We're talking about it every day. And so we're going to be asking them to give up some of those larger chain restaurants and retail and come back and so support this small Main Street local business. And they want to have a great experience when they do that. And I think by creating a culture of support and gratitude for them is going to hopefully in the long term continue to keep them motivated to shop local and help to sustain the communities that they work and live in. So this is my most important tip. But again, I have templates and documentation. This is actually part of a comprehensive relaunch plan that we're putting together for restaurants in particular, but I think a lot of it also works for retail. So you can reach out to me, and if you want to participate and help building this and rolling it out in your community or with your business clients, please let me know. And thank you so much for being here. And Danielle is coming next. Oh, you're muted. I did the same thing.
I have a mental block against that this week. Like, I've been so good about it. And then on Monday I was in a meeting and everybody was forgetting to unmute and I was laughing at them, and then I did it and now I can't stop doing it. So it's Friday. I'm hoping it's the end of that. But I'm Danielle McFadden. I'm president of the Greater Lowell Chamber. Melissa Fetahoff, my friend from the Nashoba Valley Chamber is going to be doing this with me. So Melissa, give a wave.
Hello.
So we work really closely with the Nashoba Valley Chamber of Commerce. We actually share Westford as one of our territories. So we do a lot together. So I was excited to do this with Melissa. We have this as a handout too that Stephanie and Erin will send out. So please don't feel like you need to be scribbling everything down. Everything will be sent right over to you. But here are some ideas for marketing your business and communicating information about your relaunch. So letting people know, obviously, you're open for business. Some things you may want to consider are offering exclusive hours for at-risk groups, doing pickup with pizzazz. So creating a really fun experience if you have curbside pickup. That could be having a musician playing outside on the sidewalk. I even thought, like, wouldn't it be fun to team up with a local mascot? I don't know. There may be some COVID craziness that goes along with that, but like, who wouldn't love the Canaligator delivering their pizza to them? So if there's a possibility to team up with somebody, or maybe every day you have your staff member dress up something like different, zany, maybe it's Halloween every day for curbside pickup. So having some fun with that. And also considering offering payment plans for purchases. So maybe not for a pizza, but if you're a retailer, working with your customers, your bank, your credit card companies to see if there's some different ways that you can offer payment plans for your customers. And now I'm going to hand it over to Melissa.
So another idea that Danielle and I came up with was, of course, finding new ways to bring your business to your clients, kind of changing up your sales method. So one idea was becoming a personal shopper and offering a virtual session so your clients can browse your inventory from their couch or their back deck or whatnot. Maybe, we know that everybody has lost a lot of revenue, but if you have the opportunity to maybe give a discount if they purchase by the end of the session, something like that. And of course, we always encourage everybody, make sure that you promote what you're doing on social media. So ask them if you can do a screenshot and post it on social media. Also create an immersive retail experience. I haven't had enough coffee this morning.
I put that word in there, so she's probably like, damn you.
And full disclosure, I'm not wearing my glasses. But do a virtual tour of your store or restaurant and share it on social media. Create a video from different locations. Consider offering kits or subscription boxes. Offering meal kits. We've seen a number of restaurants that have offered meal kits so that the family can put the pizza together when they get, in the comfort of their own home, things like that. Do virtual hangouts. We've had a lot of businesses. I've seen a lot of businesses that have taught somebody how to cook something from the restaurant, maybe, one of their special menu items. Have a book club virtual hangout, just any opportunity to stay connected with your customers. And Danielle, back to you.
And go live. So you could do a show and sell, which I love. I'm like, what can I do with that? But isn't that fun? We're having our show and sell. So we're all going back to kindergarten, but we're selling. So that's so fun. And we're going live. Thinking of some outside of the box deals. So a buy one, give one. So if somebody buys something, then you could give to a local charity or donate, or even doing a buy one, give one. You buy something, then you give a coupon to the person who bought, but also one for their friend or family to bring people back into your location. Next page, please. Check in and leave us a review and save. So encouraging people that when they pull up to the curb and you're with the Canaligator or with a musician or whatever kind of pizzazz you're going to bring to your delivery, having people check in at your store or location and letting people know that they shop local with you. And maybe you give them a discount, and they just have to show a screenshot and show you after, or having some fun with that. Or maybe you don't give a discount. Everybody really wants the local business community to survive. So if you tell them what to do, they'll probably do it. So it doesn't always have to be attached to a discount. Giving people a discount, we talked about that already. Share to unlock. So you could put a post on Facebook and then say, if this gets shared X amount of times, you'll get a free bag of tortilla chips with your order or something like that. So encouraging people to share what you're doing on social media.
That's great.
Melissa.
Right now, everybody is craving the opportunity to connect. I think, that's one thing that personally I've had an issue with, is not being able to connect, one-on-one with people. And so really right now, find opportunities to stay connected with your customers, any of your followers. Make sure that you have an online presence and that you're keeping your website, your Facebook page. There are so many places that we have this information. So it can be a lot, but you want to make sure that if you're changing your hours of operation, that it's listed on your social media, it's listed on your website and whatnot. You want to also make sure, I think, and this was mentioned earlier in the presentations, but that you're collecting contact information from your consumers. And, email and social media, you want to make sure that you're providing, you can give everybody an update on how your team is doing. I've seen a lot of people getting personal, if you will, with their team members, and just sharing, what your team is doing from their homes and whatnot. Provide fun tips as they relate to your business. So like a salon might offer tips on home coloring techniques, which obviously I need. So those are just a few ideas.
I want to tip on what to do when your 4-year-old says, "Mom, your hair is black right here, and right here." Like, he literally did that. I was like, thank you for being very specific. And then a lot of this stuff has already been touched upon, but don't forget, obviously, safety first, being transparent. People like it when you ask for their feedback, and then it helps you improve your business and offer the things that the public truly wants. Messages to avoid. I like this one. That's a total Melissa one, but that's awesome. Like, if you want free shipping or a coupon, don't use like coupon code COVID or coronavirus. You might want to stay away from that. Have a little bit more fun with your codes. And this is my favorite, and this is a Melissa one too, but I'm giving this one a drum roll. Communicate with your local chamber and your local organizations like Middlesex 3. We are here to help you. That is what we are here for. We live for this. We love you. We want you to succeed. So please reach out to us.
Absolutely.
And with that, Melissa, any parting words?
Nope. That was the great ending note for us.
All right.
You guys are so much fun. And I love the idea of a cooking class. If I know there are some businesses, some restaurants that if you could email me, if you have cooking classes, I would love to promote those and join them as well too. I think that's a great way to get connected and learn something as well too. As Danielle said, we are going to be sharing these presentations as well, and the contact information of the chambers, that they have a lot of great information. And we all have information in our areas of the municipalities as well too, because I know a number of businesses will need to be getting in touch with their municipality. So reach out to us if you haven't connected with, whether it's your economic development person or your board of health or whoever it might be. With that, I am going to also encourage you, please, if you can use that chat box to include any type of information, tips, ideas, things that have worked for you. We'd love to share those with others as well too. I think we're all working in our own little areas, our own silos, and the more that we can include and expand our community, I think the stronger we will all be. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to Rick Parker for the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce to kind of throw some questions out there and get some discussion going. And I know our time is limited, so talk quick.
Thank you, Stephanie. A lot of the questions that came in advance of this this discussion were compliance-based, and I just want to reiterate, you can find the information through your local chamber, local business organization. They're going to try to pare down this information, and certainly on mass.gov reopen. One thing I will say to the businesses that are online here today, please comply with the regulations. There are a lot of businesses that aren't included in phase 1 or phase 2 and are dependent upon you doing your job to get us all there. So pay attention to the things you're supposed to be complying with. So let's start with a couple of questions we received. I think, Christine, this one's probably going to be for you. What is the best way to prepare my customers for the new restrictions if I don't use social media? And how do I set customer expectations? So let's forget about the social media for a minute. Can you talk a little bit about that, the video that you can present to your customers online, preparing them for what to expect?
Sure. A lot of businesses are not up to doing a lot with social media yet, particularly some of the small ones in town. But if you have a customer list, you want to send out a postcard to everybody to let them know what's going on. That's one quick way. Putting signs in your doorway, on your window, so that people know when you're opening up and what information you have to share with them about the protocols that you're going through to make sure that they're safe. That's one other way to do it. And getting some local PR, maybe talking to the Patch or the local newspaper and saying, we're going to be opening and I want people to know that what's going on. These are the things that the state wants us to do. These are the things that the town wants us to do, and we're doing them all. And use that kind of messaging and enthusiasm, maybe even including some of your other neighboring businesses, so that you're all opening up and letting everybody know you're opening up together.
Thank you.
Can I throw one more thing in there too? I think the chambers, or the coalition, I think groups like ours, I think can also help to get the word out. And I would love to be promoting what some of the restaurants are doing as well too. And I won't speak for Danielle and Rick and Melissa, but and I know I saw Derek Mitchell from the Lawrence Partnership. There's a lot of great resources out there.
Yeah, good. Get on lists. That's a great idea. Good idea.
Christine, let's just stay with you for 1 minute. How do we avoid having several customers showing up at once? Our experience is that people aren't good at showing up at their exact appointment time. I think this probably goes into the hair salon business.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to really be a little ruthless about that. Remind them that this is not a rule that you made up for no good reason. It's a rule that is part of your compliance, and you want to be able to, move on to the next phase and get other businesses open as well. And that, it's all for their own safety. I think you're just going to have to be a little bit tough on it. You might want to give yourself a little bit of leeway. Instead of maybe having appointments every 15 minutes, have them every 20 minutes, 25 minutes, give them a little bit of a gap, but you really can't be, you can't let these things go. We're going to have to all be a little bit rigorous on this. Go ahead. Yeah, Danielle.
To the hair salon too, I've heard that some people are going to actually tell their customers, text us when you get here, and then we'll text you when it's okay to come in. So kind of setting that stage too. So don't actually come up to the door when you've arrived. Make sure that it's safe and we're at like the right number of the right amount of capacity at this point.
That's a great idea. And one of the things that we're seeing here is these organizations that are hosting us today, they understand best practices beyond compliance. And thank you for sharing that, Danielle. Frankie, this one's for you. With the combined disruption of service, lack of revenue, potential inability to get employees back, and overall future uncertainty, how do I decide whether or not to close my business for good?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I know that that's a likelihood for some businesses, unfortunately. And I think first you need to understand what room you have in your financials, and the solutions I know that have become available for small businesses are mostly loans, which is really challenging. But if you can take your financials and, what we see in a lot of the small businesses, and I know Derek sees this in his community too, is they don't necessarily have great financial records. So first, start with, if you don't know how to do it yourself, find someone like Derek or Y for All, Y para Todos, or the Entrepreneurship Center, or anyone that you know that can help you. There's another organization, MCCI in Lawrence and Lowell, who they'll sit down with you. I mean, in our organization, we will come and we'll recreate your books from your checking account and credit card statements and receipt boxes. We do that all the time. So one, make sure you understand your finances, and that point in the key metrics slide that I talked about, you have to understand what your break even is going to look like with the new costs of operating, because you're going to have to purchase some things that you currently don't have, and probably install some barriers that you currently don't have. And if your space can't allow for 6-foot distance because it's small, work with your community to see if they can find you outdoor seating. So if you evaluate all those measures and then you still cannot figure out if those numbers are going to work for you, again, engage a professional who does this all day long. And if it does turn out that you need to close your business, creating a good exit plan is really important, because there are steps you need to take to close a business responsibly. And so really the short answer is just, you got to plan and really have control of your operation at every phase. And if you don't know how to do it, reach out to an organization that can help you. There's a lot of free support in this area as well.
Thank you. I think we got time for one more question, so I'll go to Danielle and Melissa. What is the most important strategy I should employ now that the whole country has been shopping for 2 months online, and with the added expenses I have of a brick and mortar shop, I'm not the lowest price? So I guess, what would you give for a suggestion for them to stand out?
I think as a community and not just as individual business owners, we really need to talk about the importance of shopping local and the impact that that has, not only on the business owner and the employees, but the whole community, because our business owners are the ones that are sponsoring little leagues, involved in the community, sitting on boards, and really the backbone of our local economy. So I think it's our job as a collective to do that. I don't know if Melissa has anything.
That's exactly what I would say. I would echo that exactly.
So the importance of shopping local and dealing with your local chamber of commerce, because it is important to support the community. The money you spend within the community stays within the community. So we appreciate the convenience of online shopping, but people, please understand that the dollars that you spend locally stay locally. Looks like we're going to wrap it up. I'll shoot it back to Stephanie, just for final words.
Well, you know, actually, before we close, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us. But I just want to open it up to anyone who's out there who's a small business that want to either unmute yourselves, or if you want to put something in the chat, if you have ideas, things that are going on in your world that we should be aware of, or that could help all of the other businesses out there as well too. We'd love to hear from you. But if not, you know, we could also do it online as well too. I know, Danielle, you have a Facebook page as well too, right? For
Lowell. I do. I thought about posting that, but I didn't want to be self-serving. But it's open to any business or organization in the community. It says Greater Lowell. We can extend it out, and it's just a reopening Greater Lowell page for any business or organization who wants to ask questions, share ideas, resources, anything at all. So I'll put the link in the chat. Anybody's welcome to join that.
Thank you. If you can do that, and maybe if others want to either copy it or join it or whatever, the more communication, I think, the better. So with that, I know people are jumping off and they have 11 o'clock meetings as well too. So we'll send
Can I just say there's, sorry for interrupting, but there's also Merrimack Valley Eats, which can be extended too, but there's a Facebook page that's promoting local food options, and people post pictures, but restaurants also post their stuff. So that's a great Facebook option as well.
Do
I'm
you
gonna post that too?
Yeah.
I'll post that right now. Yep.
And we'll include all of this in the information that we send out, the thank you email that we'll send out to everybody. So with that, thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone, and get outside, enjoy, and shop local.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for all your help.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Long weekend. Good Memorial weekend. Nice job. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, everybody.
And Chris, nice
Appreciate
job.
it.
And Melissa.
I was yelling thank you and goodbye, but I was unmuted. So.
Yes, Danielle.
Oh, I was muted. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care,
Bye.
guys. Bye.